At 15 years old, most kids are worried about homework, video games, or fitting in at school. But somewhere in America, a teenager was silently moving through the digital corridors of the most powerful government on Earth. No weapons, no clearance badge, no inside help, just a computer and a connection. He slipped past security systems designed to stop foreign governments. He accessed military networks. He downloaded code that was never meant to leave its vault. And years later, he would be found dead. So here's the question that refuses to go away. How does a teenager breach US defense systems, and what does that kind of attention cost? Was he a criminal? A prodigy? A warning the government tried to forget? And most importantly, was his story really over when the headlines stopped? Tonight, we uncover the rise and the quiet destruction of Jonathan James. Jonathan Joseph James was born in 1983. From the outside, his life didn't look extraordinary. He grew up in Florida, in a family that struggled financially. His parents divorced early, stability was rare, direction was even rarer. But Jonathan had something most people didn't notice at first, an unusual mind. While other kids played outside, Jonathan dismantled electronics. He didn't just use computers, he wanted to understand them, how they worked, why they failed, where humans made mistakes. And the more he learned, the clearer something became. Most systems weren't as secure as people believed. By his early teens, Jonathan had already taught himself advanced networking, Unix systems, and exploitation techniques, skills that at the time were rare even among professionals. Online, he went by the alias COMMRADE. It wasn't about money, it wasn't about fame. Jonathan later said it was about curiosity, and curiosity would take him places no teenager had ever been before. In 1999, the internet was still young. Cybersecurity was immature. Government agencies were racing to digitize systems faster than they could secure them. Firewalls were weak, monitoring was inconsistent, and teenagers like Jonathan were quietly exploring the gaps. Then it happened. Jonathan gained unauthorized access to systems connected to the US Department of Defense, not through brute force, not through insider access, but by exploiting configuration flaws, basic mistakes that no one expected a teenager to find. Once inside, he didn't destroy anything. He explored, and then he found something much bigger. Jonathan accessed NASA systems, including servers used to support the International Space Station. He downloaded proprietary source code, software designed to control life support environments in space. Let that sink in. A 15-year-old sitting at a home computer had access to code worth millions of dollars. Code that, if corrupted, could end lives. And no one knew. Not yet. So how does a teenage hacker get caught? Ironically, not by cutting-edge cyber defenses, but by old-fashioned mistakes. Jonathan had accessed sensitive systems multiple times. Eventually, logs were reviewed. Investigators traced activity back through service providers. And then came the knock. Federal agents arrived at his door. Jonathan was 15 years old. He didn't resist. He didn't run. He didn't deny what he had done. Because in his mind, this was never meant to be a crime. But the government didn't see curiosity. They saw a threat. Jonathan James became the first juvenile in US history incarcerated for hacking. The media was stunned. A teenager had embarrassed federal agencies, quietly, efficiently, without help. The damage estimate was placed in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, mostly due to system shutdowns and security reviews, not destruction. But the message was clear: this could never happen again. Jonathan was sentenced to juvenile detention and probation. He was banned from using computers recreationally. Imagine that. For a teenager whose entire identity was built around technology, computers were now forbidden. But something else happened during this time. something rarely discussed. Jonathan became marked. When Jonathan was released, the world expected him to disappear. Instead, he tried to rebuild. He worked legitimate tech jobs. He avoided illegal hacking. He attempted to stay invisible. But the past didn't let go. He was frequently questioned, monitored, suspected. Every system breach, every cybercrime, every unexplained intrusion, his name came up. And for Jonathan, the pressure was constant. Friends later said he felt trapped. How do you live a normal life when the government never forgets your name? In 2008, a major hacking incident hit multiple retail companies. The Secret Service began an investigation, and once again, Jonathan James became a suspect. There was a problem. There was no direct evidence tying him to the attacks, but suspicion alone was enough. His home was searched, his devices were scrutinized, his life was once again under a microscope. Jonathan insisted he was innocent, and this time, something broke. On May 18, 2008, Jonathan James died by suicide at the age of 24. What he left behind shocked everyone. A note. In it, Jonathan wrote that he had done nothing wrong in the new investigation, that he believed the system was against him, that constant surveillance had destroyed his peace of mind. One line stood out. He said he no longer believed in justice. This was not a confession, it was a collapse. So here's the question people still argue about. Did Jonathan James pay with his life? He was not sentenced. He was not convicted again. He was not executed. But was he ever truly free? The truth is more uncomfortable than conspiracy. Jonathan wasn't killed by the government, but he lived under the weight of it. And for someone whose mind never stopped analyzing, never stopped questioning, never stopped seeing the cracks, that pressure was relentless. Jonathan's story exposes something deeper. Not just weak cybersecurity, but a system unprepared for prodigies. A teenager showed the government its vulnerabilities. Instead of being guided, he was punished. Instead of being protected, he was isolated. Today, hackers like him are recruited. Back then, they were destroyed. Jonathan James was ahead of his time, and history rarely treats pioneers gently. Today, Jonathan's name is rarely mentioned in official cybersecurity discussions, but his impact is everywhere. Stronger defenses, bug bounty programs, ethical hacking careers, all born from lessons learned the hard way, from teenagers who went too far, too early, in a world not ready to understand them. So what should we remember Jonathan James as? A criminal? A genius? A cautionary tale? Or a mirror reflecting how power responds when its weaknesses are exposed? Because one thing is certain, he didn't need weapons to shake the system, just knowledge. And that might have been the most dangerous thing of all. If this story made you question what you thought you knew about hacking, power, and justice, then Jonathan James didn't disappear. He left a warning, and the internet never forgets. Now be sure to subscribe and like this video. That'll encourage me to make more amazing mini documentaries like this one. I appreciate you for watching.